Today I'm super excited because we have Kenesha Ryce, and she's the author of Violin. This is Adventures in Suzuki Parenting. Hi, I'm Jody St. Clair, and today we're going to be talking to Kenesha Ryce. I had a great interview with her. She really had some great practice tips, and we talked a lot about how music and story are really connected. One of the things that's really unique about her book is that it's about violin technique, and there just really isn't anything else like it out there. I have really enjoyed it with my own children, and I hope you get a little glimpse of what it is and maybe want to add it to your book library yourself. Welcome to Adventures in Suzuki Parenting. Today we have Kenesha Ryce, and she wrote this fantastic book, Violin, and we're going to be talking about her inspiration and how she put this together. Welcome, Kenesha.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's just start with a little bit of your background and where you teach.
So right now I'm living in Huntsville, Alabama, and I teach at the Valley Conservatory there. I did my Suzuki teacher training, I believe it was 2014. I was a music education major in college, and I was not really liking the program too much, so I was trying to figure out how I could still stay in the education, kind of music education field without that particular degree. And so I went and did the Suzuki teacher training. And that was really, it felt kind of more like home to me when I did that. So I've been teaching probably for, I don't know, my first student, I believe, was when I was in eighth grade. So since then, I've been teaching on and off, and now doing it, um, I guess, more full time. So.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I kind of did something similar where I had started a music ed degree and decided, no, my passion is in Suzuki
Yeah.
and was and that one-on-one experience. So I
Right.
totally get that. Yeah. So I can't wait to talk about your book because I have to tell you, my kids, they love it, and we've read it a lot of times already. And both of my son and my daughter, they're almost 7 and almost 4. They both play violin. So I was thrilled to be like, oh, look at this. Let's work on this in practice too.
Yeah.
So, so what exactly inspired you to write a book about violin technique?
Um, a little bit of boredom, a little bit of creativity. So I'm very visual learner. So anytime I'm learning something, I try to kind of map everything out in my head, and so I kind of create this internal world where everything makes a little bit more sense to me. So when I'm teaching, I try to do the same thing for my students and help them to kind of connect different things to one another, try to come up with different ways for them to remember things. So it kind of grew out of that, and then just boredom sitting around one day thinking about life and what if I made this into a whole little world where everything is run by a violinist. So that's kind of where that came from.
Yeah, I love that it kind of, I mean, I think teachers often use that metaphor like a captain or that you're in charge of your fingers and to like give directions or give
Yeah.
directions to your bow, and it just like takes that into this whole imaginary place that is so fun. The illustrations in it are amazing too. I love the style and the just how whimsical and the little bits of music got brought in.
Yes. When I first got the first draft of the illustrations emailed to me, every time I looked through them, I would find something else. Oh, the bell tower is shaped like a violin, or oh, look
Yeah.
at. So every time, it's little surprises even for me to find. So.
That's
really good
fun.
at
Yeah, I think I'm still finding little things as we're reading through it more.
that.
So do you use children's books when you teach? I mean, was there like, oh, I've used this other children's book when I teach and I'd like to extend it into this other thing? Was it just like, I wish there's a hole here and I wish I had it?
Well, I hadn't really considered using anything like that until I guess I came up with my idea. And when I did, I didn't really find much. So
Hmm.
it's kind of after the fact that I kind of found the hole, I guess. But
Yeah,
yeah, I was kind of thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I could not just tell them about this, but allow them to see it as well? So,
yeah. Do you have any favorite children's books that you'd like to share with parents or?
not really.
Okay.
I don't have very many. No.
I didn't like really start delving into the all of the children's books out there until I had kids. And then I
Yeah.
was like, whoa, this is amazing. So how did you pick which techniques to use? Because obviously as a teacher, I feel like, oh my gosh, there's a huge long list. It would be hard to decide which would I want to focus on first. So
Well, I had some other ideas of techniques to use, but I feel like these two were the ones that the stories just kind of plopped right out. It's a little
mm-hmm.
bit easier to, I don't know, they just wrote themselves for me. And I have some others that I'm working on, and they're kind of still in progress, but these were the two that kind of just were right there for me. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, So one of the things I wanted to just like show a few of the pages, if that's okay, so that I well, I love how like there's a at the end of both of them, there's this great like summary of why exactly um, there was conflict in the story. So the first technique is opening the elbow and everything, and then I loved the little violin Peg family.
yes, isn't that such a cool car?
And the car is so great. And what a wonderful like visual. I just I think as teachers we are always painting these images of imagine this or we use a lot of metaphor for trying to get a certain sound or a certain um, physical kinesthetic type result, but to actually have these something that you could pull from
Right.
that's already this beautifully painted story and picture is such a great tool for parents and teachers alike. um,
So when
so
I'm
oh, go ahead.
sorry, sometimes when I paint those types of pictures, I think to myself, I hope I don't sound like a crazy person because it's very abstract sometimes. And so,
Yeah,
yeah, having kind of like a little bit more of a concrete picture helps out a bit to make sure the point is kind of driving home.
yeah, yeah. I haven't used these yet in like group class, but I'm really excited about pulling them into group and reading them to a larger
Yeah.
size and just to kind of to see that connection with them. So the I was immediately struck by the great diverse cast in the books, and that there isn't a whole lot of representation of people of color in the classical community. So I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about your experience and your choices about this book, because I just found it just really beautiful and something that was uniquely uh, not really out there. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah. I was really, I guess, that was really important to me to make sure that it was very diverse in the book. And I even wanted to do more with the diversity. I wasn't able to. So hopefully in future books, I'll be able to kind of delve a little bit deeper into that as well. But that was really important to me because a lot of times, I guess some people get to see themselves as kind of like the default.
Mm-hmm.
And like even when I got the first draft of the book, it it wasn't very diverse at first. So that was something that I kind of had to explain and kind of walk um, walk them through what I wanted to see and um, yeah, how I wanted it to look and the people that I wanted to be represented in them. And as a Black woman, it was very important to me that I felt represented in the book, especially since I was
Yeah.
creating myself. But yeah, that's kind of interesting having to explain those things to people who I guess don't really have to fight to have themselves seen in certain places. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting process, but very important because I think a lot of times some children will be able to imagine beyond what they see, and others kind of shoot for what they see as possible. So I
Hmm.
wanted to make sure that I was able to make that visual possible for people who might need kind of like an example to see that, oh, this is something that I can do. It's not just for a certain type of people or anything like that. So,
Yeah. Well, I was really appreciative of it, and I feel like it made it obvious that there was a place for everybody in
yeah.
Violin Town. So, how else can teachers use story in their teaching and parents too? I think uh, we are constantly using story in practice. So, what would you recommend for teachers and parents out there?
Well, one thing that I like to do with my students is have them come up with their own story for a piece that they're working on. So I feel like it's really important to kind of give the student their own, I guess, power in a sense, and have them kind of become an active part of that. So there are the stories that we tell them, then there are the stories that they need to be allowed to kind of imagine on their own, because this is like a sound that they are creating themselves, and being able to have them a part of that process and be able to kind of come up with a storyline that will help them express the emotions, the dynamics, and all of that, I think is really helpful for students to see that they have a say and that they can kind of make things happen from their own imagination.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I've had students where if we do that and it's just a little too open-ended, do you sometimes then give a little prompt or something like that? Like I
Yeah.
say, okay, we're going to make up a story to this, and then they're just like,
That
frozen.
a lot.
Um, and I love connecting to that creative part of playing. So how do you kind of keep from like the fear of the blank page kind of?
Yeah, I'll kind of guide them a little sometimes. So does this sound more like happy, pleasant?
Yeah.
Okay, let's think of some things that are pleasant, or does this sound serious and dramatic? Let's try to think of a scenario that might be that way. So some students I have to kind of lead a little bit more in that way, and others are just ready to go with
Yeah.
stories
Yeah.
and pictures and all of that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely have to tailor
Yeah.
it.
I recently did a video that was all about um, story and how telling stories together, I think, makes us better musicians. Like sharing in story and reading out loud and everything gives us that like basically like story vocabulary to be able to share together. And
Mhm.
so I feel books are just like I think are very deeply connected to music. And part of the reason I was like so excited about your book when I saw it. And I just think that that connection could be like explored a lot more for parents. I think we tend to think of them as like compartmentalized things, and I think it's really deeply connected to the creative part of music making.
Definitely.
So, um, so you mentioned a little bit that you might have plans. I think this left it. There's two techniques. There's a whole list of techniques that we could have see our violinist be working on. So you have maybe some plans for a future book, and
I do. So really trying to figure out how to market this one better and figure out how to get this one off the ground. And once things become a little bit easier with this one,
yeah,
I do have some other stories that are almost done that I'd like to be able to share, but I have to get some things in place before I can do that. So
yeah,
It's more. Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. Okay, well, I will be waiting for the next one for sure. All right. Um, so I love to end with giving a tip for practice that parents can use today. So, what would be a tip that you could give parents that they could use right away in their practice?
Well, I think a lot of times, some students, when I tell them, I need you to practice this, they'll say, how many times do I need to practice it? I practice it 5 times for 5 minutes or whatever. So I guess my tip would just be try to maybe in one practice session just focus on one thing that you're trying to improve, and try to have the student maybe record them at the beginning and record them closer to the end and have them see, did this improve or did it not, and kind of have them, I guess, change that mindset for what the goal is. The goal isn't just to do it, but to kind of make some push forward a little bit, make some headway.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Getting
So,
away from just checking off the list.
and when they can see themselves in a video or hear themselves in a recording, it kind of helps them kind of get more perspective on, did something actually change from the beginning to the end. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, we are really lucky today because I actually have not just one copy, but two copies. So I have one copy. I have to keep one copy because obviously my kids really like it. But I have one copy to give away. So hopefully, if you're seeing this video right as it comes out, make sure you check the links below and we're going to have a great giveaway so you can get your free copy of Vio's Violin. Great. Thank you so much for being here today. And I really look forward to seeing what you do in the future.
thanks for having me. And to the person who gets the giveaway, send me a message on my website, weimaginemusic.com, because I do have coloring pages from the books. And so anyone who orders a book from my website, weimaginemusic.com, gets those 4 coloring pages from the book. But if you do get the giveaway, you can email me and I can send those over to you as well.
Oh, great. Ooh, little bonus. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much and happy practicing. Make sure you click like and subscribe and check out the links below because we have our book giveaway happening now. Thank you for joining me in this adventure in Suzuki parenting. Happy practicing.